Wonderful. Thank you. So we are here. We're going to give people a moment or two to come online and join us. But we are here with the lovely Laurie and Lennon, who's camera shy. And Lennon's like, I'm just going to cuddle on the couch and be super comfy. And you all can just wait until I feel like setting up. So.
Yep.
So thanks so much for joining us, Laurie. Before we dive in here, how about you tell us how it is you came to be part of the PADS community or the PADS family?
Well, I currently work for School District 43 in Coquitlam, and there were a handful of people, teachers, administrators that had already had PADS dogs. Lindsay and Orion, I believe, were the first in our district to work as a team. And Lindsay is an incredible human, and Orion was an incredible companion. And Lindsay and I, spoke a few times, and it just seemed to me that this might be a good entry point, not just for myself, but for students in my school to have access to a non-judgmental yellow, chocolate, black lab potentially. And so I applied, and I had an interview with Ron Turmeric, and lovely. And fast forward to an opportunity to do some work with Margaret, just having some PADS dogs in our school, doing training in our schools, so they could have an opportunity to expand. And that's how I eventually met Lennon. And we've been together now for over 4 years. And it's pretty much a match made in heaven. So that's how it started.
Love it. And you have something to share with us today. And before you share that, I'm just going to let folks know that are watching. If you're watching on Facebook Live, feel free to throw any questions that you have for Laurie or Lennon or me into the comment section of the Facebook Live, or if you're watching on Zoom, you can click the Q&A button either in the bottom of your screen, or if you're on a mobile device, typically in the top right corner, there's a few little dots there you can click on to find the Q&A section, and you can throw your questions in there, and we'll ask them live on air here. But I'm going to hand it over to Laurie because she's got something fun to share with us.
All right, I'm trying to bribe Lennon into the picture. Come here, Lenny. So there we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes.
It's like we didn't
All right.
pose for the Tune In Tuesday when we were in advanced training. We'll have to add that to the repertoire.
Okay, such a good boy. Good boy. Okay, so I wanted to share with you, being an English teacher, I like to frame. Oh my God, my other dog's trying to get in here now. I try to frame things in some sort of written form, and so today I decided to share an acrostic poem that I wrote about Lennon, and to sort of tell a little bit about his story and what a gift he's been for me. And I probably would have to say over 2,000 students. So let's start with his first L. So Lennon, L, is likable, lovable, and a great listener. I wanted to share with you a story about a young lad at my former school that was in grade 6. And Lennon took quite a shine to this lad, and this lad was on the autism spectrum. And so in grade 6, this young lad could really not function very well, even in the classroom. And so what ended up happening is that he would come and read to Lennon in my office. Sometimes 2 times a day, sometimes 3, sometimes all day. Grade 7 came, and Lennon started spending more time in the classroom with this young lad because he felt like he could stay in class. So Lennon would hang out with him in class as opposed to coming to my office. By grade 8, Lennon would stand at the front of the classroom with this young lad as he would give his speech for his English class. And so Lennon not only gave this young boy a voice, he gave him the ability to love himself enough that he could stand up in front of other people. So that's L. for Lenny. E, equitable. Lenny is equitable. He loves everyone equally. It doesn't matter what age you are, what color you are, what religion, what gender. He doesn't care. He just loves indiscriminately. And that is the beauty of my equitable boy. The first N, Lennon is notorious. That's right. His notoriety is based on his love of the ladies. Lennon loves the lady dogs. It is something that he in particular loves Iris. And I don't know if you know Iris. Iris was one of his kennel mates. And Iris is paired with Lisa at another school, and they adore each other. His next N is non-negotiables. Lennon has non-negotiables. He's all about freedom and choice. Now I'm going to have to put my hands over his ears because I always let Lennon believe that he's making all the decisions in our relationship, because if you don't, Lennon has a problem following my direction. So Lennon makes all the major decisions in our relationships. That's his non-negotiables. Oh, Lennon is an officer. He is our chief happiness officer. That is his title at school, and that's basically something he takes very seriously, and that's his mission in life, is to bring happiness to everyone and anyone. And finally, N, napping. Lennon takes his napping very seriously. And if you know anything about PADS dogs, self-regulating is a very tough thing for them to do all day long. Lennon is nudged, kissed, petted, hugged, rubbed. They particularly like his ears because they're so soft. So by lunchtime, Lennon has pretty much let me know that it's time for a nap. And he hangs out with our head secretary, Leanne, who he absolutely adores. So he takes that entire hour to rejuvenate. Then off we go for the afternoon. But by the time we get home, he curls up like a baby shrimp on his donut bed that his PADS puppy raisers gifted him 4 years ago. And I don't hear a peep out of him until he has to go for his last bathroom break and we go to bed. That's Lennon. And I'm so grateful to PADS to give me an opportunity to work with Lenny and to have Lenny work in schools and change the lives of so many people. So thank you, Tara. You're muted, Tara.
I'm muted. Sorry, there was a phone ringing in the background. So I turned the sound off for a minute, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. That was beautiful. And I have goosebumps. And he is such a special boy. And so thank you everyone for joining us. I see lots of folks watching on Facebook live and a few comments. So hello from Lisa, Lennon's advanced trainer, and Sandra jumped in and said, Lennon definitely gives Valentine a look when they cross paths on the trail. Yes, the ladies' man, Lennon. So anybody watching, if you have questions for Laurie or Lennon, feel free to throw them in the comments, or if you're watching on Zoom, you can use the Q&A box or the chat box on Zoom to ask questions. So tell me a little bit what an average day looks like for Lennon in a school environment. What does his day look like?
So when Lennon and I arrive at school every day, we walk into my office, and he has a bed off in the corner where he goes and he'll have a little lie down. And when my two office extraordinary staff arrive, Lennon is released and he gets to go say hello. And generally that's where all the teachers sign in. So then all the teachers come in, say hello to Lenny, he gets loved up, and then he comes back into the office. About 8:30, him and I go outside, and the kids are all gathering around and getting ready. And Tara, I need to tell you that I'm getting used to the fact that no one says hello to me anymore. They just say hello to Lennon, which is absolutely fine. He becomes the third point. And then I hear a lot of stories about from pets to And as I said, Lennon's a good secret keeper too. So the kids love to chat with him. Everybody goes off into the class. Then Lennon and I go around from class to class, and there's 20 classrooms at my particular school. And we go into every classroom in the morning and say hello and greet everyone. And Lennon does have two or three students that he goes up to that he has particularly gathered or created a bond with. Then we come back into my office usually, and he gets a little bit of downtime. And there's also a couple of students throughout the week that like to go for a walk with Lennon. So we generally go for a walk where we have an opportunity for them to either brush Lennon or hang out with Lennon or spend some time with Lennon. Lunch hour, or sorry, recess or nutrition break, Lennon is outside during that time, hanging out. And like I said, by lunchtime, he's had pretty much enough, and he'll let me know. And he does get a snack just before lunch. And then he goes and he lies down with Leanne in the office. Then in the afternoon, we have an explorations class that's called outdoor education. And they're always off in the forest. So Lennon actually goes and joins them and hangs out with them and, creates some space for kids to have a conversation with him. He's also very helpful at diffusing challenging situations. So if a student might feel a little frustrated or they might be not having a great day, Lennon will get a text. Well, Laurie will get the text, and it's Lennon to the rescue. And Lennon will go in and assist that student to help them self-regulate. And that sometimes can take quite a long time, but Lennon's very patient. And then we actually take the child back to the classroom and go on to our next mission. The end of the day, Lennon gets to go for a walk because he needs to also kind of let go. And he may have the puppy crazies at that point because he's built up a lot of energy. But I wanted to tell a quick story, Tara. Some of the kids think that Lennon's not a real dog because when he has his cape on, he is self-regulating, and like it's a pretty amazing thing to watch, right? So the kids think, oh my gosh, Miss Ebenall, is he ever a real dog? And I'm like, I'm going to show you. He has a favorite teacher currently at our new school, and Mr. Ney. And so what we'll do is we'll go out on the field. We take Lenny's cape off. We take his leash off, and him and Mr. Ney frolic all over the field. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. Jeff's probably 6'2", 6'3". And the kids are like, oh my God, he is a real dog. So that's Lenny.
I would like video of the field. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to watch.
It's interesting to hear what different working dogs, just being a dog looks like. Katie and I have a game where I grab a tug rope and I sit on an office chair, and her favorite thing is to like tug me around the room. And I interviewed Merlot and Tia, and they talked about how after a really intense interview, they'd go and they play frisbee. And, so different dogs have their thing that just kind of fills their cup and kind of helps them to kind of unpack some of the stress. And, but I love that. I love that he has a teacher friend to frolic with.
Oh, yes. Him and Mr. Ney, they frolic.
Nay, that's awesome. Well, we've got a lovely comment from Mike Edgar that says, good boy, Lenny, great team. Very proud of you and what you're doing. So that's one of Lennon's puppy raisers from Calgary who's watching today. Another comment from Nicole, who's another one of our clients. Lennon's living his best life. Good job, buddy. People ask if Walker is a real dog too. So yeah, I think it's kind of that myth, right? They have the vest on and they're so well behaved, and people wonder if they ever get to dog. But I actually kind of think our service dogs sometimes play even harder than the dogs that don't have a job, because like us as humans, the harder you work, the more you have to kind of decompress, right? So tell me you touched on this at the beginning with your story about the little boy kind of going through kind of the different grades. and diffusing situations. What are some of the other situations where an accredited facility dog in a school is really beneficial? I know I've heard from other clients, like every school should have a dog. But for those who haven't watched kind of our broadcast before, tell us about some of the other ways that he kind of participates in the community.
So one of the key pieces around, if you've ever been at a middle school, our grade 6, 7, and 8 students don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex of their brain. And so that impacts a lot of decision making and impulse control. And when that happens, you'll have very upset kids. And when they come into my office, Lennon is there sort of as as a mediator almost, and he creates this sort of level playing field, and the kids can talk through things while touching him and cuddling him, and it creates this dynamic that is very different than I think kids have been used to in some scenarios where they come in and they think they're in trouble, but Lennon somehow makes them feel like they're not quite in trouble, but they're going to get some help. So he's there for those situations. He's also there to do a lot of circle work. We do a lot of circle work at my school, where we sit and we discuss certain issues. Lennon becomes a centerpiece during these circle. But if someone needs Lennon, he does get up, and he intuitively knows who to go to. So he spends a lot of time in circle with different kids and adults. It's just not kids. We do a lot of restorative practice at my current school, and those conversations, again, allow Lennon to be a part of it without being, he's not very intrusive. He just becomes a part of those kids being able to, he allows them to self-regulate, because then they start to breathe easier. They start to, actually, when you pet a dog, I've done a lot of research on this, our serotonin and our oxytocin actually gets released when they're petting the dog. So it creates that calming effect actually through chemistry and physiological impact. And so that's why I think it's so important to have a dog in a school, because it takes the anxiety away, and that's what creates I think yes, we should have a dog in every school, and I think it's imperative that we also know how hard these dogs work in a school. When you have 500 kids all wanting to be a part of Lennon's life, he works very, very hard.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to touch on. I was talking with someone this week about the difference between accredited facility dogs and therapy dogs. And, I've had a couple therapy dogs in my life, pets that have gone through that certification process where they can go and visit, a hospital or a nursing home or whatever. This is a very different thing from going in and spending an hour visiting and going and doing that as a full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the difference between going and visiting a hospital and visiting a friend or family member and actually going and being a nurse in that hospital. And so, when we look at dogs like Lennon or dogs like Gaia at Canuck Place, that go in, day out, and kind of serve those communities, and can kind of provide their comfort and their presence, etc. It takes a very special dog to do that. And so I think that's one of the things that people get confused about, like what's the difference between say a Lennon and the really sweet, Labrador that shows up at my mom's nursing home on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And from the outside, they don't look that different. But I think what the difference is partly the training and the upbringing. So I think about, the work that kind of went into Lennon as a puppy in terms of socializing him to all sorts of things. And that's not just about him being used to them. It's also him considering them normal so that they don't become additional stressors. So if you were to bring a pet dog into a school environment, there's bells and there's kids running and there's, new noises and new smells. And all of
Yeah.
those things are stressors, which, for Lennon now, they aren't because he's been well socialized to those things. But then there's also the breeding that went into him. And we talked a little bit about that before we went live. His mom, Roma, has produced some lovely puppies for Pads, and now her daughter is carrying on her legacy. So our Flintstone puppies that went out the other day are Lennon's nieces and nephews. And great nieces and nephews. I'm not really sure. I can't keep track of these things, but the breeding that goes into these guys to kind of breed that resilience in that they can come back and do this job and love it day after day after day and not be like, oh, we're going in there again where there's, all these people and it's just a lot. And so just like not all people could be teachers, not all dogs could be accredited facility dogs. So he's a special guy. So we're kind of nearing the end of our time. If anybody has any more questions, oh, I'm just seeing a few things popping up here. Feel free to post them in the comments on Facebook Live, or if you are watching on Zoom, you can post them in the Q&A box. Yeah, Ross and Veronica are just saying, love how they quietly know who needs them. And then Iris jumped on and started to say something, but it looks like it submitted before the thought was finished. So Iris, if you want to come on and tell us what you wanted to say, we'll go over that in just a second. But your hot crush is on the internet today, Lennon. So, but anything else you want to add, Laurie, before we sign off here?
I just want to give a shout out to Mike. I have met Mike, and Mike, you need to know that any man that resembles you in height, Argus, no, Argus. That's my other dog. Lennon immediately goes up to that man and just goes crazy, rubbing up against him, loving him up. And it's so, and I always say to the man, oh my gosh, you look just like one of Lennon's puppy raisers. And that's why he's reacting that way. So Mike, you need to know that he still has quite an attachment to you. So I just wanted to pass that on.
That is adorable. Okay, well, give me 1 second here because Iris tried to post their comment again, and for whatever reason, it's cutting off. So I am just going to see if I can see it on a different screen here.
Has quite an attachment to you.
Oh, just that Lennon and Laurie are the best. So yes, absolutely. So, and apparently the feeling is mutual, Iris. So, so we will start to wrap up here. So if you have any last minute questions, you can post them. But thank you both so much for joining us. It's been lovely to have you both here and have this handsome boy kind of join us. And thank you, Lennon, for coming on camera because he wasn't sure about that at first. So 5 minutes of fame here. So, oh, one more kind of popping in. Oh, Mike just says, thanks so much. Love that boy forever. We raised him, changed a life, or is that 1,000 lives? So good job, Mike, triggering the Pads cold yet again. So.
Oh, Mike, you're gonna make me cry. Yeah, you raised a good boy. He is a good boy. He is.
Boy. Yeah.
And thank you, Tara to Pats. Incredible organization, incredible people, and I can't tell you how full my heart is.
Well, absolutely our pleasure. So thank you both so much for joining us, and I hope you will come back at some point, but thanks for being here, and we've loved having you. Take care. Bye, Lennon.
Bye.